Howdy folks, welcome back to Run 8. This is another getting started video, and in this video we're going to go over some basic dispatching. Now dispatching is a fairly complex topic, so I'm not going to cover everything, but just some of the basics you need to know to get started solo play. In the first video we covered some basics on moving your train and working in industry, and we're going to follow on that theme of, hey, I just bought Run 8, now what do I do? With some dispatching. So we're here at Barstow Yard. I've got a few trains set up to head out. So the first thing is push F3. That'll bring up your dispatch screen. If you keep pushing F3, it'll go through different screens. So we've got the main Barstow. We've got the Mojave Sub. We've got the Needles Sub. This is what comes with the base game. So I've only got those loaded. And we can see red here. So we have this track occupied, this track occupied, and this track occupied. So we've got a couple trains that are headed out to the north. We got one train that's headed out to the south, and that's Railroad North, Railroad South. Might not necessarily be aligned with the compass. And then there is something in the inspection yard. It's been a while since I set this up. Oh yeah, I've got another one over there in the inspection yard. So let's get him going with some AI. Click on him. I'm going to say AI recrew. So kind of along with dispatching, let's talk just briefly about AI. So if you AI recrew a train, they will try to drive forward if they can. So they'll follow signal indication. They'll stop if a switch is lined against them, that kind of thing. They don't really have any other kind of intelligence. They'll just go until they can't go anymore, until they run off the map. So I use that in my world to get things, just running through the world for ambience. And there are a few cases where you can run things into yards, like an AI will spawn in and it'll come into Barstow. That's a little more advanced. So right now, by default, we are the dispatcher. So let's go over manual dispatching, and then we'll also cover auto, OTTO, the automatic dispatcher. If I push F3 again, couple basics. So we've got this guy in the inspection track. If I just click, see how that highlights over a switch? If I click that, it'll tell that switch to throw. So I'm going to set that back. So we want this guy to continue on. So let's get him out of the yard. So we can see this dashed line means he's coming out this direction. So I need to give him a signal. You can see that it fills in green. So he's green up to the next block. I'm just going to continue to left click once on those. And we'll get him headed on out. Main 3, I'm going to click that. And he'll just head on over to the Needles Sub. Now if I would click one of these a second time, it goes green. I think that's called fleeting, so that means it'll stay green. If I click again, it goes back to no indication. Signal currently unavailable. I think it takes some time to switch. Anyway, so when you click once, it turns yellow. The train will go through on a green, and then it'll drop back to no signal, or red, basically. Okay, so this is back to red. Now we can change it to yellow. And then escape to exit the dispatch screen. So if we look up here, he now has a green aspect. So he will go... This is a crew change point, so he may be waiting a set amount of time for a crew change. Simulated crew change. So let's get one of these guys headed the other direction. We'll do the same thing. F3 for dispatch screen. And we're going to send this guy right here on out. So you can see by the dashed line, he comes up here to this one. So I'm going to give him a signal. It says invalid routing. We'd throw the switch, give him a green signal. There we go. So you can't give him a signal unless he's routed that direction. Now, before we send him on out, I want to look and see. I don't remember where he's going. If I click on the lead here, he's going to Pasadena, I think. I don't have my sheet handy that tells me which direction he's going. Let me put an edit in here. All right, had to take a quick look at my off-route destination map, which you can find over at the great resource of thedepotserver.com. The Depot Server is an awesome community. There should be a link in this video as well as any Run 8 video I do. They've got a ton of maps and just rolling stock databases, destination tags, local information. There's just a ton of info over there. So go check it out. So both of these trains, PAS and RIA, I think it's Pasadena and Rice, maybe? I'm not sure. Richmond? I don't know. They're both going out to the Bakersfield sub via Mojave. So I actually need to route him a different way. So let's drop this back. And that will send him out Mojave Sub. You can see this is flashing. It sometimes may take a while to switch. It was waiting for that signal to drop back down. Now if we give him a green, he will head on out towards the Mojave Sub and on to his destination. Last thing we need to do is do that, and then we need to AI recrew him. So he'll start up the train. And he'll head on out. You can see down here the switch. These are dispatcher controlled. And we'll do the same thing for this train down here, and then eventually somebody's going to start moving. So he is routed out. We also want to route these guys out. So he's going to have a conflict here, but that's fine. So if I click that, it says invalid routing because we're not going through there yet. Click on him and AI recrew him as well. So you can display this as a dispatcher if you want. All right, let's talk a little bit about some other options with the dispatch screen. So if I go over to, let's go to the Mojave Sub, and I'm going to push F1. That brings up the dispatcher options. I'm going to say Auto DS. So now Auto is in control of this subdivision. And you can see if I click here, it says Auto DS on duty, cannot throw switch. You can either click that or push F1 again to get rid of that screen. So when the auto dispatcher is on, you can't control any of this stuff, except you can sometimes. Let's say you want to temporarily change a switch somewhere. You're wanting to come into West Bakersfield or whatever. If you right click on a switch, it will turn blue. That gives you temporary control. Now I can throw that switch with a left click. Then if I right click again, it'll turn it back over. So just be aware you can sometimes override the auto dispatcher. Now that could mess things up, so be careful. Of course, if there's a train currently in that block or over the switch, it's not going to let you throw it regardless. All right, nobody is moving yet because they're all waiting on stuff. I don't know what they're waiting on. This guy should be able to go. He is going. All right. We have a train on the move. So you can see he's got a indication to merge onto the main. And then he doesn't have any other signals until he gets up here. Oops. He's got a diverging there because he's heading off towards Mojave. So that's some dispatching basics. Let me get some stuff set up and we'll talk about the auto, a little more about Auto, the automatic dispatcher, and how you work with him as a solo player. Okay, we're back. I've deleted that train that was waiting on a crew change, and I've taken over control of this train. It's no longer AI. So we are in this train. And we want to head that direction. So how do we do that? Well, let's go talk to the dispatcher. There's several different ways to do that. You can do that from in cab with the radio. So if you look, if you push F3, We can see BNSF Barstow radio, channel 32, star 13. And then the UP is channel 14, star 54. So if you want to, you can actually cue in 3213 on your radio. So let's do that. So we hit channel. Is it 32? Yeah, 3213. You can see it says 32. And then we hit DTMF. That's your tone, basically. And then star 13. Then you'll hear that. I don't know if that's a repeater sound or I don't know for sure what that is. But now basically you're keyed up to talk to the dispatcher and he's going to answer back. And you'll get this screen. So we can say request signal. So you'll say, hey, I want to go somewhere. And he'll move you forward if your reverser is in neutral or forward. Or he'll move you backwards if your reverser is in reverse. So that kind of tells the automatic dispatcher which direction you want to go. We're in neutral, so he would route us out of the yard towards our final destination based on the train tag, which is a little more advanced. We're not going to get into that. So I can request signal to move based on signal indication. We can request relinquish mainline authority. So if we're out on the main, we can say, hey, I want to have control of this block. Maybe I'm doing some switching off a spur. And if he grants you that, then you own that block. Nobody else will come through it. And then if you're cruising down the main and you want to stop or you just want to get off on a siding, you say request next siding, and he'll just route you into the next siding. And I'm pretty sure he'll only put you in a siding that you'll fit in, but don't quote me on that. And then he'll route you into the nearest siding and you're good to stop. So I'm going to close that. Oops. Apparently I clicked on the horn too. So we've toned him up. We want to go talk to him again. Somebody on one of my streams pointed out they've actually enabled the dispatch button. We clicked right in the middle of the dispatch button. That will tone him up again. And if you don't want to mess with any of that, you can just go up here to your overhead menu, go to dispatcher and DS menu. And then you can tone him right here. The emergency tone, I'm not too sure what that does. It may be for multiplayer and it like pings them specifically. I don't know. I'd never use that. I only play solo. So you can tone him several different ways. So let's do that. Let's get on out of here. So we're going to go to dispatcher DS menu tone, and we'll get that same screen that we just saw before. Request signal, and then he will talk to you up here. So he says acknowledge, we are 8753. Proceed on signal indication. And then he should align some switches for us. Yeah, we're on this track. It's like all those manual switches are set up right. So we have that signal. Thought he would throw this switch for me. Auto DS on duty. Throw the switch for me. Okay, I'm not sure why he's not throwing the switch, but we can use that workaround. So we're going to right click on that, throw the switch ourselves, and then right click again. Now we have the switch thrown in our favor. And if we zoom with the scroll wheel, you can scroll up and down to zoom, and then middle mouse click will reset it to default zoom. You can see we got a green down there. And all these manual switches should be lined up correctly, but let's hit Shift F12 and fly down here just to make sure. Maybe one of those wasn't set right, and that's why he wasn't. Oh, that's a different signal. We gotta go all the way down here before we get our signal. Ah. This switch, manual switch wasn't thrown. That may be why he didn't open up the yard for us. So there you go. We'll just follow signals and we're off. So next, let's cover a little bit of Mainline Authority and how that works. Okay, we're set up over here in Mojave Yard, and we're facing, which direction is that? That is basically southeast. And I have a train on here. We want to head over to an industry just down the line here. So we're going to talk to Otto, who's in control right now. I went up to my dispatcher and engaged him on all routes. So he is handling everything. We're over here on the Mojave Sub. And it looks like we have a train coming in. That train coming out of Barstow is coming over to here. We click this one, it takes us there. So this is that train that we released as AI. He's headed out to Pasadena. So BAR, Barstow, to, I'm pretty sure PAS is Pasadena. So if we click this button, it takes us over to Mojave, and he's coming over here on this line right here. And we are at Mojave Yard right here. So we want to go out, and then right over here is an industry. The dispatch screen is not to scale. I don't think I mentioned that. It's more about function. None of this is to scale. So how do we get over there and get Mainline Authority so we can switch that industry? I'm glad you asked. That's why we're here. So first of all, we're going to tone up the dispatcher. So I'm going to come over here to DS menu. We'll just do it this way. And that should set up our radio appropriately. I have reloaded Run 8 in between those cuts. I'm recording this at different times. So I'm going to say request signal. And he's going to answer back, okie dokie. And he gives us a green. So we're good to go to get out. But we need to line some manual switches. So let's go line that one up. And then we're all good to go. This one is dispatcher controlled. So we're all set to go forward and out onto that main. So we'll get going, and once I get out on the main line there, we're going to request Mainline Authority. But we need to get out on that block first. And we're on a downhill, so we're going to easily come out of the yard here. While we're doing that, one thing I didn't cover is if you want to go somewhere specific, so this goes to D, so we're coming out here to D. Let's say I wanted to go over here to O-band, the sighting. If I double right click on that block, you can see it says destination block assigned. That will tell Otto you want to go there, like specifically. Otherwise, he's just going to route you ahead or reverse if your reverser's in reverse. Based on your train tag. If you don't have a tag or it doesn't match anything, you'll eventually just end up off the map and your train will despawn. And then if you want to clear that destination block, you can just double right click again. So that's one little tip on how to get to a specific place. See, we are LOP 53, a local. And we're out on the main. So I'm going to go ahead and tone him up again. And we'll use this menu. Also going to go ahead and get some initial air going here. I'm going to say request relinquish Mainline Authority. It says Mainline Authority granted, UP 8835. So now we own this block. Get a bunch more air going on here. I didn't stop in time, but this is just a demonstration. It's okay. We'll start slowing down. Now, if I pull up the dispatch screen, you can see this is pink. So pink can mean a few different things. It can mean there's a switch aligned. It basically means the dispatcher doesn't own that block for whatever reason, or he can't route through it for whatever reason, if that makes sense. So since we've requested Mainline Authority, we own this block here. We can throw the switch to get to the spur and do our cars, and there's more manual switches down there. We can do whatever we want in this block, and Otto's just not going to route anything through here. It can also be because a switch is thrown. So let me teleport up here real quick. So if we hover over any switch and we push the space bar, it'll teleport you there with a nice little Star Trek sound effect. Shout out to the original Trekkies. Turn that off. So let me find an example here of here's a hand thrown switch. So this is on the main line. And we're right up here on the UP main 2. So if I throw this switch, we go back to our screen. You can see this is pink now. So auto says, hey, I can't route through here for some reason. So either the player owns it, they have authority, or a switch is thrown, something like that. Set that back, then it goes back to white. And I can't get to my train because I'm too far away. So we'll go to train, transport to my train. We can hop back in the cab. So we're stopped here. We have mainline authority, and we can do whatever switching we want to do. When we're done with that, we would just do the same thing. So dispatcher, DS menu, tone. We'll tone up the dispatcher, and we'll click that again to relinquish. Mainline authority relinquished. If we bring up the dispatch screen with F3 again, you can see it's gone back to normal colors. And then we would just, we'd want to proceed. Tone them up and ask for a signal, that kind of stuff. So that's the basics. There's a lot to this. There's a lot more advanced topics I could cover, but that should at least get you started with the dispatching. Let me know if you have any other further questions of anything I covered here. Maybe it wasn't quite clear. Just leave a comment down below. Appreciate you all hanging out, and I'll catch you in the next adventure. Take care.